Since 1945, Weatherby's been building the finest firearms and ammunition in the world. And today, we're proud to continue that legacy from our facility in Sheridan, Wyoming. This is On Our Mark, the Weatherby Podcast.
All right, welcome back to On Our Mark, the Weatherby Podcast. I am your host today, Tyler Grayton, and I am joined by none other than Kyle Killen. Kyle, you've been on the podcast a bunch, but what do you do here? What do you want to be when you grow up?
I'm doing exactly what I want to be when I grow up. So I do all of our shotgun product development and also handle our international sales. So world traveler, man of mystery, get to shoot things for fun.
Yeah, you do a lot of shotgun testing. You kind of lead up all that stuff. Do you ever, we jokingly just said that you are doing what you wanted to do when you grow up. So do you ever just pinch yourself and be like, man, if I told my 12-year-old self what I do for a living, would you be pumped or not pumped?
I think I'd be pretty pumped. Yeah, it's the joke always in the family is like my grandfather was a huge gun nut, which is where I think I got it from. So the joke is always like, man, if your grandfather was alive today, he'd probably just be out living with you so he could shoot more. And I'm like, yeah, he probably would be actually.
You'd probably welcome him doing endurance testing, though.
Yeah. Able bodies are a good thing.
Especially with the heavy duck loads and stuff.
Yes, it's one of those fun ones. So you get to 3.5-inch shells, and it's like, okay, how many Roman candles can I shoot today?
Yeah, I really enjoy like going out and shooting on the clays and practicing, but most of the time I feel a little sick on the days when you're doing the magnum loads testing. So. Yeah,
especially when it's luckily we usually get to use the launchers on Magnum Day just to try and take the brain away from the pain. But when it's shooting into the berm, that gets a little rough.
Yeah. Well, man, this is like one of my favorite times of year. It's, big game seasons have kind of settled. There's been a ton of bird hunting options open, but now I can kind of like focus on duck and upland hunting and, really grind out that last, December. And then, most of all of our waterfowl seasons will go into February. So,
yeah, it's a little change of the pace for you. So yeah. I started a little earlier this year. I didn't even get around to unboxing the rifle. So it's you were lucky. Elk hunt was good for you, obviously, too, and the deer hunt. So
yeah, the freezer is officially filled. I always say it's like these two things that like I love working at Weatherby because we do the rifle side and the shotgun side. But like big game hunting, there's just something about like the competitiveness with yourself and like pushing hard and like all of the physical parts of that and the mental part of that. But then when it gets to waterfowl and upland season, it's just I have a lot more fun. I feel like there's a lot less pressure and like just the atmosphere of being in a blind with a buddy or walking with dogs and doing all the things. It's just enjoyable for me. So.
Yeah, and even the physical side, like if we're dragging decoys in and that you're not doing it by yourself or with one other guy. There's usually three of us crying and moaning a little bit as we get stuck in waders, but it's a way more social aspect, and it's a nice change of pace after a good hard big game season. So
yeah. So I guess today's topic is, man, we've been really pressing hard on our shotgun lines here the last year and a half, maybe even longer if you account in like the testing that went into some of our SORIX lines, our Orion side-by-sides, and all the things. So this is a fun podcast because we are, introducing an extension into our Orion line. If you want to maybe give us a rundown of this new product.
Yeah, so do we want to hold that up or?
Oh yeah, for the YouTube guys, check that out right there.
Yeah, so we basically did a compact version of our Orion side or over and under. So the Orion over and under has been a staple in our line for quite some time now. Great shotgun, does everything that we needed to do, checks the boxes, but it's got a 14.5-inch length of pole. So if you've got, a shorter statured significant other, you got a young shooter in the house, like kind of need something a little shorter. So rather than having to go down to the gun shop, have it cut down and do the whole bit there, we are shortening the stock up to 13.25 inches on the length of pole, 26-inch barrel, so it still balances just in front of the hinge pin there. So we didn't lose our balance point, which was important to us. And it shoots really well for those who just are a little bit shorter in the reach. So,
yeah, we tested this on a lot of different size shooters. So maybe like go into like how you refined that length of pole.
Yeah, so we started. We took an original stock with the 14.5 inch, and we just started basically taking off a little bit. and we'd walk it around, and we had kind of about 7 people that were varying anywhere from about 5 foot to 5'6", which is kind of where, if you look at your demographics of your shorter statured shooters, that's the bulk of them, right? So we started there, and we just started taking off slowly, bit by bit, until we kind of found that spot that, your shortest shooter at 5 foot was very comfortable shooting, but 5'6" could still get away with. And once you go to above 5'6", you're usually jumping into a full-size gun anyways at that point. But that gave us kind of that nice little spread. So it was kind of funny because it's like, you go around, have everybody, shoulder it, play with it a little bit, see how they're shooting it. And then it's like, okay, back to the table saw. And you're just like literally taking it off on a table saw, re-drilling your recoil pads. We weren't reshaping recoil pads or anything at that point, just trying to figure out length of pull first. Then we started grinding everything down a little bit to kind of make sure it was spot on. So,
yeah, man, that's like just doing the trade show thing the last couple of years. You get to interact with a ton of consumers. We take a lot of feedback from customer service too. I feel like this has been a growing thing of like shorter length of pulls, like getting like a good fit for either, a younger hunter or just smaller statured in general. I feel like we do get a lot of questions on like, hey, when can I get this shorter? It's usually not longer, but most people are on that edge of, man, it would fit me a lot better. So, yeah.
Yeah, and that was the thing. So, like, especially what we get is a lot of, I call female shooters that are, they're right on that edge of where they could go to a full length. But as soon as they put on a heavy coat for late season pheasant, they can't go that length. And so having a shorter length of pull is important on that aspect there. And so we're kind of catering where it's like, hey, we're going to have a little bit of everything for everyone. And this one is kind of right up that alley. And the nice thing is, too, is, if you've got a first-time shooter out, I like a break action gun. It's like you can put one shell in the gun. When it goes bang, you're not worrying about them racking another shell in or a semi-auto. It's very safe, so it's a great educational tool as well for young shooters. So, we'll be starting Zoe here soon on that. So
yeah, and honestly, with those younger shooters too, you want them to have a good first experience. So finding a gun that fits them a little bit better. I've noticed if you do have, just maybe you're just letting them shoot your 20 gauge. They don't get that fitment, and they're kind of long, and their head's a little farther back. And then when they get that muzzle rise, that gun wants to jump right back into their face.
Yep.
So you start promoting really bad form habits if you don't have that shorter length.
Well, and like we saw with my daughter when she was shooting, I guess you weren't there that day, with a stock that was too long, she was trying to get comfortable, and she accidentally let it go down a little too much and got punched by the top corner of the stock.
Yeah.
So that left like kind of a notable like memory in her mind of like, don't do that. And it's like, okay, yeah, we got to go shorter on the stock for her on that. The other thing is with 20 gauges, you can get low recoil loads for 20. So if you have a recoil sensitive shooter, you can get a gun that fits, so it's not going to, kick as hard, because fitment, if it doesn't fit, it's going to kick worse for you. And then you add in a low recoil load, and it's like, hey, we've got a great combination for starting kids out, or starting like, even adult onset hunters that are shorter in stature that don't have a lot of experience. It's like, that's a good way to go. Like, you can start them out with a comfortable gun, low recoil, and kind of work from there. Yeah. So, but I think people are going to be quite happy about seeing this right in time for Christmas.
Yeah, and it's a quality thing too. For like the price point that you'll find the Orion Compact, it's kind of that step above. Anything under $1,000 seems to be a little, can be chintzy, right? And like, again, you want the shooter to have a good experience, but at the end of the day, you can't break the bank. So it does kind of fill that good sweet spot for a newer hunter, and getting into more shooting sports.
Well, especially because we're seeing, due to the post-COVID world and inflation, we're seeing a lot of guns just skyrocketing up there. And then you've got a lot of stuff that's on the real low end that it's like, man, that might last them a season, and I don't know how well it's going to really hold up. It's like we're kind of sitting in that happy spot of like, we've got something that's extremely great quality, but yet you can afford it, and you can go shoot it, and you can still have money for shells, right? That's always the biggest thing I tell guys, like, you can buy this gun, do everything you ever want to do with it, and still be able to go buy a case of shells and enjoy it.
Yeah, some of those really, smaller compact 410 options that have been really popular, they're less than a compact, if that makes sense. They're more of like feel like a BB gun, right?
Yeah,
and that does not grow well with your shooter.
And we're seeing a lot of them too that the fundamental shape of the stock is completely different than a normal shotgun. So the kid's going to struggle to adjust to a new shotgun as they get bigger, right? So because they're running like a lot of pistol grip styles that are hollow.
It's like that survival stock or whatever that was made, you know what I'm talking about?
Exactly.
Like,
And they serve a purpose. They're great for some things. You know, if you got a kid that's just only going to shoot rabbits, that's great. The other thing I don't like is 410s are a wonderful caliber. They're hard for kids just because they don't have the amount of shot in it that you really need to have for killing birds, especially with somebody that's not going to be very precise.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, it's really hard to transition from one of those smaller guns into true wing shooting because you're not getting a balance point. You're essentially getting a lot of muzzle whip because it's so light and so short. Yeah, so it's just, man, this is a really good, I lack of a better word, like a great training / transition shotgun.
Yeah. For those that are going to grow taller, that's the way to go. For those that are already at the height they're going to be, and this fits them perfectly, it's no different than me shooting my standard Orion field. I just have a slightly longer stock.
Yeah. So maybe let's go through maybe features of this one, like stock, oil rub finish, all that good stuff, and then let's maybe get into the nitty gritty on the Orion series as a whole, because man, I feel like sometimes we forget about how tried and true it is. It just continues to be, that whole line has been a great seller for us. So.
Yeah. So on this gun, what we have is we have a low profile receiver here. So we're using 2 locking trunnions that slide into here, into the face of your receiver that's at the midpoint, rather than having an underlug that's going to bite in the bottom of the barrel. So your lockup's right here. So it creates a lower profile receiver. So you're going to have less bulk in the gun, which is nice. You're not going to have as much height. Well, on that, we also have a selectable safety on this. So real basic, nothing fancy, nothing crazy, just a reliable, nice, positive safety.
Which, again, just mimics that same feel that you're going to get when you step up to just an Orion field gun.
Yeah, it's the same as our Orion field gun, same safety. On this gun, honestly, if you wanted to take time to fit a full-size stock, it would be the same as our Orion matte field as far as the 26-inch barrel model. So it's a great combination on that side of things. We cut the stock down to that 13.25-inch length of pole, so not so short that they're going to grow out of it in the first year. It fits a lot of female shooters. Great option there. Invector chokes on this, so it comes with improved cylinder, modified full, so it covers your gamut of everything you'll really need. The great thing is, though, is if you want to start them on a skeet field and you want to open it up, common choke, easy to get from Carlson's and anybody else, really, Really, that is the key features on that. We are still running the Prince of Wales grip, so it allows them to actually slide their hand a little bit, and it's very thin in the wrist here, too. So, smaller female shooters, smaller young kids, they're going to be able to get a full wrap on this real easily and have full control of it and not feel like they're holding onto a 2x4 and struggling to kind of function the gun. So, and then we have mechanical triggers in this. So that's another great thing with, young shooters. The triggers are mechanical, they're not inertia operated. So what you sometimes see is with an inertia trigger is that if you're running really light loads, it will not transition over to the next barrel. With mechanical triggers, doesn't matter. They can just pull once, pull again. So if you are running low recoil loads, they're not going to have that issue. So,
yeah, and that's kind of why we've always, in the past we've had compact options have been gas operated on our semi-autos, and now we came out with this to kind of fill that gap because we were kind of in between compact options, just because again we wanted to come out with a platform that is going to cycle for if you have that soft shoulder a little bit. So.
Exactly, yeah. It's a great platform that's dead reliable. I think we'll win some fans over on that side of things. So. But yeah,
and then it still has this is kind of a small feature, but I do like the recoil pad on the Orion series.
The anti-snag.
I like the anti-snag. For you folks who aren't on the YouTube, it's got a little bit of a hard overmolded plastic at the top of that pad, and it really does help when you are in the cold and you're wearing an extra layer or two. It does not catch on your clothes when you come up to mount the gun. So I think that's really important for, again, younger shooters who might be maybe rushing a shot a little bit, excited. So
it's a great feature on that side of things. And especially when you start adding in the bulky clothes. Like, we all practice in the summer when it's nice out, we're out shooting clays, enjoying that time. We don't always think about the fact when we're going to go and throw on that puffy coat because it's 20 degrees and the pheasants are out and about. And it's like, oh, I just added about an extra inch to my shoulder. So yeah, it's one more nice thing that it's honestly like I overlook it sometimes because I see these every day. So I'm glad you caught that because I was going to skip right past it.
Yeah. No, I like that feature a lot. The more that I've been upland hunting, the more I really do appreciate hunting with the Orion. So I guess while we're talking about it, what are some of the other options in the Orion line? So maybe just walk us up from the top, like the sporting, down to kind of the field models.
Okay, yeah. So our Orion Sporting is going to be 12 and 20, 30-inch barrels. They're ported. It comes with a set of 5 chokes, so you're going to have everything from skeet to full on that one, and the chokes are extended.
Yeah.
On the Sporting as well, you're going to have a actual pistol grip stock, so you're going to have a little bit more of a rapid drop here with a very kind of just really good firm profile, and it wraps out a little more to kind of get you kind of into that more like consistent trigger pull spot. You're not sliding as much as you would.
Yeah, it's not as sleek, I guess. It's more designed for some target shooting, clay shooting, wing shooting. Yeah.
Yeah, and so we've got that, and then it has the adjustable comb on it. So it's adjustable for, you can bring it up and down, obviously, and then you can also adjust it for cast over and cast off. So nice package. Those ones are extremely popular actually with the clay guys that are getting in, and we do actually a lot of guns over for kids in like scholastic clays because it's got all the fundamentals they need for everything, and it's a gun they can shoot all through high school. So from there we go into like our field models. So we'll go with the Orion Matte because it's so similar to this. So the Orion Matte is our matte blue barreled action, our oil rub stock, and then we're doing them in 12 and 20 as well. So it comes with 3 chokes, just like the Orion Compact. Your improved cylinder, modified, full.
Are those 26-inch barrels on those?
26, and we have 28s in the 12.
Yeah, that's right.
So, and other than that, feature set, appearance-wise, this gun's identical, other than obviously a 14.5-inch length of pull. So, which should be noted is 14.5 inch is what we're running on all of our field guns.
Yeah.
So, and then we get into just our Orion Field, which has got the high gloss finish that we're kind of known for.
Or the original Orion. We call it the Orion 1.
Yeah, the Orion 1.
Yeah.
And then we got the gloss blue barrel set in action. Same choke setup, same length of pull, but it's just a different kind of appearance package more than anything. Yeah. So, that's the one I shoot the most.
Yeah, see, I'm an oil rub. I just like that dark wood oil finish.
I love the oil rub finish. We didn't have the oil rubs when I bought my Orion 20, so it was kind of like, well, okay. I'm like, I like it, but
yeah. Know. So the Orion is your personal gun, and then your testing gun are the mats, right?
Pretty much. You've seen the safe that I've got, so there's a little bit of a loadout going in there. So, but that's our Orion line at this time. There is also, if you look around right now, there are some Orion Grade 2s out that we did a higher grade stock on.
That's right. Those are super pretty wood on those.
Those really pop out. If you look around, you'll start seeing them in dealers. Those were a limited run that we did that I know kind of some guys have mentioned and emailed me about and like, hey, I didn't know you guys did those. I was like, yeah, that was kind of a little bit of a limited run that we did to kind of surprise everybody. So
yeah, if you should go check your local dealer and see that if they have one, because there's only a couple hundred of those in existence.
Yes.
And I unfortunately did not get to buy one. We had to fill orders. So
there's still a few more coming. We got one more shipment coming, so you might get a chance.
Gotcha. Yeah, that is one that you won't even see on our website. So you got to go to your dealer, go in there, ask them about it.
Take a look because they are out there. So, but that's the Orion line right now. So we didn't go too crazy on it. It's that core bird hunting and sporting clays line.
Yeah. And then last fall, we came out with some side-by-sides, which falls under the Orion line. Let's just maybe talk about differences there with triggers and chokes and all that good stuff.
Yes. Okay. So when you get into the Orion side-by-side line, that is a little bit of a different beast. So obviously, it's a double trigger shotgun. So that throws some people for a little bit of a loop. So it's still a mechanical trigger, but you got to, how many times we've seen guys when they're making the adjustment the first time pull the same trigger twice. But the great thing about that is it is instant choke selection. So you've got, improved cylinder in one, improved modified in another. If you got a bird that jumps up at a great distance, normally, you'll see guys, they'll either try to fumble to try and get their selector quickly, or they'll just shoot both barrels knowing that that's what they need to get to is that longer choke. you can just go and jump to that choke on the Orion side-by-side by just hitting your trigger that you have that barrel selected for. So those use a different pattern choke, which is a Yildiz pattern choke. They come with 5. They're extended. We get asked about all the time why we ran extended chokes on the side-by-sides, and it has to do with there's longer parallel in it, so it actually increased the pattern efficiency we saw with steel shot. With the way we're seeing everything going with WMAs, non-toxic, it's kind of just a future proofing of the gun, so it's always going to be there for that non-toxic shot opportunities if you got a place you're going to go hunt.
Yeah, and there are flush chokes available for that. You can find them in the marketplace too.
Yeah,
So-
Briley's making chokes for that gun. Like, there's a couple of people out there making chokes for it. So I tell guys, if you want to go flush, order your favorite contours or your favorite constrictions from those guys and move on, right?
Yeah.
That gun has a straight English stock. So whereas with this, we've got a Prince of Wales right here, so a little bit of a swoop down. That gun is purely straight back. So there is a reason for that in that it does aid in running those double triggers. You can slide your hand a little bit faster and quicker to swap between triggers. And for some people, it's a little more intuitive to point. And then we're running a swamp rib on that barrel. So swamp rib, with the whole idea behind that is it does help pull your head down a little bit because that rib kind of dips slightly between the barrels. It's kind of an optical illusion, but it tends to actually get guys to shoot the gun better because most guys, double barrels, they see 2 big stacks in front of them, they raise their head up, and then they miss. So swamp rib pulls your head down, you get on that bead, shoots way better for guys. So
It's interesting once guys get the triggers figured out. I've had more people be able to shoot that side-by-side well. Just, again, it just points really well for a lot of different people.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, it does extremely well, especially on quick stuff where guys don't think. They just throw it up, it naturally pulls their head down, and they just shoot. I've seen more guys, do the same thing. It's like, I don't know how well I'm going to shoot it. And then the next round, they're sitting there like, I shot 23 out of 25, and I've never shot one. It's like, yeah, it's pretty intuitive. Like, once you figure the trigger out, you're going to have a good time with it.
yeah, and I've been getting a lot of reports back from guys who are using them in the field and stuff. And it just seems that you can be so, what's the word? Dialed in once you figure out the double trigger in the sense of what choke do I want to shoot this bird at because it got up at 30 yards. So it's funny how your setup can be that dialed in once your brain makes that switch from, just pull the trigger to, I'm making a conscious decision here. I'm going to shoot the back trigger because that's my extended modified or whatever.
Yeah.
So,
well, that's how I grew up with side-by-sides a bit. So, that's how I always was. And it always was. My right barrel was my front trigger. My back barrel was my left trigger. And my right barrel, or my front trigger was my open choke. Back was tight. And so that was on a fixed choke, old Parker. And so now when I set up the side-by-sides to go out, I make sure I set it the same way because mentally for me, it's just there already. So you just are like, oh, yeah, I know exactly how this is going to go. And it gets up out there. It's like, and I tend to run, me, IC and IM when we're upland hunting. It's like, if we get into late season sharptails, they're jumping up out there a little ways. I just go straight for the back trigger. It's
yeah. Do you, what is your strategy? You always set up your front trigger as your open trigger, just again for that recoil situation. Like when you pull that front, do you naturally want to slide back or am I overthinking that a little bit?
So there is theories on that with real heavy recoiling stuff. So that's where you start getting into old side-by-side rifles with 470 nitros. You were always told to shoot the back trigger first because guys would slip off the front sometimes, hit the back trigger, and it would sound like a kind of stutter, and they would be on their back from the recoil. So if you were shooting say a 12 with some real heavy loads, you may want to set it up so you're going
backwards, or what would feel backwards.
Yeah. But for 90% of what we shoot, I shoot my front trigger first. Just like I said, I shot a fixed choke gun growing up, and I knew the front trigger was open and the back trigger was tight. And I just grew up doing it, so I just set it the same way because this old dog is going to not learn a new habit.
Yeah, that's funny. Yeah, for the price point on those side-by-sides, you will see some pretty significant wood upgrades compared to what's kind of out there in the marketplace at that similar price point.
Yeah, we get some really nice wood from the guys over there. The one we took actually one with us when we went duck hunting last Wednesday, my dad and I, and so he grew up on side-by-side, so I got to watch that get put to work in the marsh, and that was was fun to watch.
Ooh, what I love about the side-by-side lineup too is that we do have a wide variety of gauges. Like you can get 410, 28, 20, and 12.
Yeah.
With honestly, it's kind of crazy to see some of the trends in that side-by-side market, but by far 20 and 28 is kind of our most popular gauges right now.
Yeah, it's the 28. I've gotten to actually spend a little more time with that one lately, and I really like that. That's been a real nice gun. 20 was the go-to before that. 410 is a lot of fun to play with, but like I said, I like a little more shot from bird hunting. So
yeah. What is your theory on kind of the resurgence of sub gauges? I think I'll know your answer. I have an answer, but what do you think?
Premium loads and ammo availability.
I feel like the shots, like shout out to our friends at like Federal and all that stuff, but load technology has come such a long ways in the last 10 years even.
Well, especially with non-toxic. I mean, we're looking at all this stuff now. Like Bismuth has come back out and they're doing cool stuff with that. All the new tungsten loads that, I mean, you start looking at your pellet counts are insane. And it's like, that makes, even, if you want to run 18 grams per cubic centimeter tungsten, that makes a 410 actually viable for as far as like pellet count for the way I look at it. And I know a lot of guys are going to be like, 410's always viable. And I'm like, yeah, it is. I prefer a little more for birds. Like, that's just me. And the 28, though, is like, I mean, it's phenomenal now with non-toxic. So I keep contemplating, well, we've been talking about a little bit of duck hunting with the 28, so.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's something that we need to do, a little bit small water stuff. I've yet to do it. I have not hunted ducks with a 28 gauge.
I haven't done with the 28. Done it with plenty with the 20, never the 28. So I'm kind of itching to do that. Where we were at Wednesday would have been perfect for that, yeah. So we seem to be stacking up a few of those spots.
Yeah, man, this last year and a half has been really fun on shotguns. I guess while we're on the topic, we might as well just give a little rundown on SORIX. This is the first winter that SORIX has been available to the public, and it seems like that SORIX has been kind of catching fire out there. It's been pretty well received.
Yeah, it's been really well received. It's doing great. We've actually now gotten past that initial launch. We've expanded the lines out a little bit with a couple extra patterns. So we got the bottomlands and Shadowgrass original for the guys. So a lot of cool stuff coming on that, and the 20s are just way too much fun.
Yeah, the 20s are pretty awesome. Those are at dealer right now, so you need to check. I know a lot of people say, "Hey, oh, you haven't shipped the 20s." It's like, no, we've shipped to them, and they've all gone. We finish them here in Sheridan, and then they all go out, and then we're immediately on back order. So
yeah, we cannot seem to build enough of those. So it's we're going as fast as we can. It's demand just is a lot higher than on 20 side than we ever thought we'd see. So
yeah, and man, that SORIX just running through kind of the end of summer, end of fall, you get, a lot of the rider feedback, a lot of the sales shows feedback and stuff. And that SORIX did really good. It won NASGW Shotgun of the Year, which is, for a lot of people, that is like a committee that essentially is like the largest distribution of firearms in the U.S. It's a panel of sellers and media guys who sit on that board and select what they call the Caliber Award. So they pick based on dealer feedback and media feedback what is like a new innovative shotgun.
Yeah, it has to be launched within the last 12 months. So it's always looking at new stuff, which is great. Yeah. So, and kind of seeing what's going on there. And yeah, we were up against some pretty good competition and walked out with that one. So
yeah, that's a fun one to win. It really, I mean, sometimes you can see in some of the shotgun stuff, you might think a little bit of stagnant on innovation and like what is people changing, and to come out with a, like something that is a shift system, something that's Italian / U.S. finished. It's kind of a cool combo that not a lot of people have really been working on.
Yeah, the hand painting on the stocks that no one else has been doing. Like, we kind of keep looking for cool ways to kind of move things along and change things a little bit. So I don't anticipate us stopping doing that anytime soon. Yeah,
and then it did well with Field and Stream this year.
Yep.
I think it was kind of in that best new shotgun category for newer shotguns.
Yeah.
And then Split Read, which is a big social and blog platform, lack of a better term. So it kind of made some good headways there too. So.
Yeah, it's been stacking the awards up this fall. So I think everybody's finally got out and got to go hunt with it, and we're falling in love. So
yeah, it's been a lot of fun. So, yeah, I guess kind of we have our element line that, man, I love getting all the testimonials on our element. I feel like we get a lot from customer service. Where I had one just the other day where a guy had dropped his shotgun into the mud, and he just had to tell us that he pulled it out. Like, him and his buddy both dropped shotguns. It's kind of a funny story on how it would work. And he was like, my buddy's shotgun, which was the element, worked just fine, and his super expensive one was having issues. And he was just like, I went and bought that $800 shotgun at one of our retailers like the next day. So,
Well, and did you see the one where the guy lost it in the river, went back in the summer when the water level was down, found it, cleaned it up, and proceeded to shoot it the very next day? Sent us the video.
yeah, I did see that. It was like caked in mud. Like, he lost it in like December. It like fell through the ice or something.
Yeah, and he couldn't get down
couldn't
there.
get under the ice. And then when it was like June?
Yeah, it was
or
something
May?
like June or July.
Yeah, and when the water receded, he found the stalk sticking out of the mud or something like that.
Yeah, it was insane. I loved the video though. Well, I cleaned it, and then he just mag dumps it. I'm like,
Yeah.
and that's about what I expect from it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, no. So it's been a real fun couple of years on the Weatherby shotgun front. And I like to say that, we're not really stopping there. We've got more things coming,
Yep.
with this compact, and then 2025 shaping up to be a pretty fun year too.
yep.
So,
Yeah, in fact, you and I are taking off Thursday, 2 days in a way.
yeah, we've been kind of in that mad dash of like, okay, where are the birds? So we plan these trips with Mario from Final Approach,
Oh gosh,
months in advance, but
9
probably
months
5,
ago?
6 months ago. Yeah, somewhere in there. And then it's like, okay, what are the birds doing? So I think our original plan was, 6 hours from the office, and now we're going 10.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's a little more mileage on the pickup truck.
yeah. So it's the name of the game. So we're gonna go do that for a week, get some last minute testing on some things.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and we've been kind of pumping out the content too. We've had 2 endurance tested, field proven videos come out by this time, mid-December. So go check those out. We did a Kodiak hunt with the SORIX last year, and we did a hunt it was like Wyoming, Colorado, with the Hush guys, Infinite Outdoors. That one just dropped last week. So yeah, we got some fun. We're putting these things to work all fall, and now we've kind of tricked a few camera guys into mostly following you and me.
It's my favorite thing about shotguns right now.
Yeah, I don't know how we tricked them into letting us go do so many cool things, but it's fun to do that infield tweaking. Like, you can have all the concepts on the range, in CAD and all the fun things like that, but there's no substitute for 20 degrees and cold and
Muddy.
Muddy. Your hands are cold. You drop your shotgun. Those are the fun ones. Because even on the SORIX, I think till our last trip, we were tweaking spring rates and making sure this and like, oh, what if we run it like that? And those are the fun things.
Yeah, I want to say it was about this time last year. You and I were tearing a spring out of a shotgun, and I had a different one I brought with, and it was like, let's do this now.
Yeah. And we didn't do Canada this year, but last year we chased the flyway. We pretty much started in Canada, came back down, went all the way down into Arkansas, California.
Yeah.
I went up to Kodiak. Like, we were kind of all over the place with it.
Yeah, we went a little bit everywhere.
You did early season Oregon too?
Yeah, no, it wasn't early. I mean, that's right when back home, that's when that started. That was November. You went to Kodiak and I went to Oregon at the same time.
That's right.
What did we? Well, we did early season Montana. The opener
Oh
up there.
yeah, we did the opener, and that was fun.
Yeah, that one worked out. I don't think it would have worked if we waited 2 more days, but
No, absolutely not. But yeah. Oh yeah, another good thing if you're looking for some Weatherby shotgun content, Mario at Final Approach, man, they've been cranking out.
Mario's been cranking it out, been shooting the SORIX, and he is, I always like to call him my test case for destruction. If he has an anvil, he could break it. So he's just been beating on the guns pretty good, and they've been shooting up a ton. They went to Canada. We didn't get to go. We were other places, so it was kind of a bummer. Sad day, but it was good at the same time.
Yeah, they went to Canada, and then he launched all the Canada hunts that we did last year on film. He did a couple Montana ones,
Yep.
Your Oregon one. So he's been dropping videos about every other week. So
Yeah.
you should check out his YouTube.
Yeah, see the SORIX in action over there as well. So
Yeah. Well, I think that kind of wraps us up. Any other last minute thoughts? I feel like we're gonna have another.
we'll have another one of these. I feel
We'll
like.
have another shotgun one here in a couple weeks.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, we'll probably have a recap from next week too, I figure. So
yeah.
yeah, no, I'm just thinking about all the shotgun shells I got to go pack for this trip.
Well, I don't need as many because I only need a couple per hunt.
Oh, it's not you I'm worried about.
Alrighty. Thanks for listening. Yeah, check us out on our YouTube and our Instagram. For shotguns in particular, we have our Weatherby Field and Flight. That's WBY Field and Flight. Follow that for all things shotguns. So,
All right.
thank you.